Hey everybody, welcome to the latest installment of The Way It Is. I'm your host, Luca with Remax Service First, and I'm fortunate to have as a guest today, Steve Burke of Steve Burke Home Inspections. He is a home inspector here in Kingston, a longtime home inspector here in Kingston. Before we get into that though, I've got to do all the click if you like it, ring the bell, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff if you like what you see, and yeah, you like what you're following. So Steve, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad we're doing this in person, obviously, right? So the first of, let's hope, many good things to come. So obviously, home inspection.
Yep.
The pandemic certainly put the air brakes on your business.
It did. It did, very much so.
And so now we're coming out of COVID. What's happening? What do you see happening in the home inspection world?
Well, as you say, COVID really did have a very negative impact on home inspectors, not just in Kingston, but throughout the province. And a lot of the people that were in the business either left or had to go and do part-time work because there just wasn't enough work to keep us busy.
Right.
I think some of us that have been fortunate enough to have been in the business for a while and have enough contacts had things we could go and do to keep us busy, because business was, for some of us, it was non-existent.
Right.
I was fortunate. I have a good friend here in Kingston, and he had actually phoned me to come and do some project management work for him, which I initially turned down,
Right.
thinking, you know, I don't have time for this. And it was almost serendipitous of him to phone me then when business was down. That particular year, business was down 40%. And I said, okay, well, maybe this makes sense. And consequently it did, because business even got worse.
Right.
And, but now I see things are starting to change. However, while it is starting to change, I think we're probably another 6 months before we're sort of back to a market that we would call sort of a normal market.
Normal market. So, I mean, we're seeing it in our end. Obviously, offers now have conditions on home inspection, financing, those kinds of things. I mean, getting back to the pandemic, and there were no inspections happening, what was the fallout? How many calls did you get from buyers that bought homes now wanting you to have to come in after the fact, and what was the fallout of that?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, really the only people that are doing that are military people, and the only reason they're doing it is because the military pays for it.
Right.
But very few, if any, have called me after the fact. Now, having said that, I've heard horror stories of people who bought houses not doing a home inspection and then finding out that there was, major things wrong with the house.
Right.
The problem is that, as you know, as soon as you're signing that dotted line, and you have to waive the home inspection as part of the deal, whether you wanted to or not, it was the market and it was how things were working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's an awful lot of people that I think are pretty distraught over the fact that, now they've got things that they have to pay for that they weren't expecting. But it was the market, and even if you wanted to do a home inspection, you pretty much couldn't, because you would never get the house.
No,
well,
and that's just it. I mean, I know I was just about to ask you, did you get to do any? I know there were some that did some pre-inspections where there was like a window of 2 hours you could go along on a showing, I guess.
Yes.
Sort of give it an eyeball, I guess.
And I must admit, I did a fair number of those. I must right at the beginning, I wasn't crazy about the idea of doing them at all, because first of all, you're doing it with no report. And there's, from a legalese point of view, you've got no leg to stand on because there's no record of any of it, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I told people, here's the deal. I'll come in. I'm just going to give it a quick eyeball just to make sure there's nothing major wrong here.
Yep.
But other than that, this is not a full inspection. And it's funny because there were people who wanted to do even those, and sellers weren't allowing people to even do that. Some, believe it or not, I got snuck in, couldn't wear any of my gear. Don't drive your truck. I'll pick you up around the corner.
Oh my goodness.
And just come in as though you're part of the family and have a quick look. Yeah. And there was lots of ones where the realtor would phone me and say, can we come and do what we were calling quickies?
Yeah.
And then they'd phone back and go, no, we got told we couldn't do it, because I think legally or through the real estate board, they were supposed to
You have to
inform
disclose
people
it.
that
Yeah,
you were
no,
going to
no,
do
it's
that.
about transparency. You have to disclose
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, and then at the end of the day, oops, got to rock my show. At the end of the day, I mean, the seller had the right
Yes.
to not allow that, right? I mean, because if that buyer wasn't going to buy it, then somebody else was going to buy it.
Well, that's
right?
true,
So,
but don't you think in some ways it's a bit wrong for the seller to be able to
well,
refuse for you to be able to do that?
I don't disagree. I mean, I certainly, if they were clients of mine, I certainly would have had that conversation and said,
Right.
what's the message you're really sending?
Exactly. What are you trying to hide?
When you say that?
Yeah.
So, and if you don't know, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I guess pre-pandemic, because I saw it too. I mean, I've been around way too long, but so the home inspector world grew, and it kind of blew up a little bit, right? Where, not to sound disparaging, but like almost everybody and their dog was getting their home inspector ticket and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
How many were in Kingston? How many left? How many now? Do you know the numbers?
I honestly don't know because over the years it's been a case of there was about 8 or 10 that I considered were making a full-time living at it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there was a bunch of people doing it part-time. The problem with doing it part-time, as you know, is if you phone me and enough times I'm not available, you're going to phone somebody else.
Yeah.
So I've told people that I've had people call me and say, I'm looking to do this as a part-time thing, and I'm saying, realistically, if you want to do it, you need to do it full-time or don't do it, because realtors are like anybody else. They need somebody they can rely on. And if you're not available to do those things, when they call you, they'll go to somebody else and you won't get those calls. So,
Well, and I think you have to, like, even with us, you have to hone your skills too, right? The more houses you inspect, the more things you see, the better you're going to be at your
Exactly,
job, right?
exactly.
So,
And I've been at it full-time for 14 years, and I still see things that I've never seen before.
Right.
Not as often, obviously.
Right.
But, so you're right. If you're doing it on a part-time basis, especially when you're starting out, you're never going to get that experience
yeah.
to be able to see things that the average person's never going to understand or see. So I think, the pandemic did have a couple of guys that have been around a long time retired and got out of it completely and had no intention of coming back. But I just had a call yesterday from a guy who's doing the course and wanted to know if I could sort of mentor him when he got done. I said, you're getting in at a tough time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in it. I think the problem is, I think a lot of people think that it's like as well as I do, there's way too many people in real estate in here. They think they just have to do the course and all of a sudden they can make money.
And so let me talk about that, because I know the general public thinks, like, you just don't some people think you just get a pickup truck, a ladder, and a flashlight and you're a home inspector. But what is the certification program now in Ontario, I guess?
Well, in Ontario, there's still no license requirement. It was passed by the provincial government, but it still hasn't been enacted. I'm not sure what the delay is at this point. There just doesn't seem to be any real political will to push this along.
Until there's enough lawsuits happening or something.
Well,
I
I think the thing is that right now BC has licensed and Alberta has licensed, but nobody else in the country has. So
when you walk outside.
But I think the thing is that I think it kind of polices itself, and I think it's policed primarily by you.
Right.
Because you know as well as I do that if you phone me and I do a crappy job, or your client's not happy, or if we make mistakes, then you're going to find somebody else.
Yeah. Sure.
Because most of the time it's the realtor that contacts the home inspector. It's not usually the client. I mean, it happens, but on a percentage basis, I would say it's maybe a quarter of the time. The rest of the time, it's the realtor calls.
Yeah.
So if you call me for your client, and I do a shitty job, just do a crappy job, then you're not going to call me again, because it's your reputation as well as it is mine.
No, understood.
So I think that policing does a good job. That even anybody could probably get a license, like driving a car. Anybody can get a license.
Right.
But the process in Ontario is really anybody theoretically could, as you said, get a truck, get a ladder, and get a flashlight and call himself a home inspector. But I think those are the types of people that'll get weeded out pretty fast.
Yeah.
The rest of us took a course. There's the most common course, and probably the best course, is the Carson Dunlop course, which is actually offered at college.
Right.
And it's actually a 2-year program at college. Or you can do it through home study. If you've got the time, you can do it full-time at home
Right, and that's at St. Lawrence. They offer that.
It is at St. Lawrence. It is offered there as well, yes.
Okay. So at least those that are taking it are getting through with at least, because Carson Dunlap, they were the gold standard, I guess.
Yes,
the big
they're the ones
boys.
that started it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So out of Toronto, yeah. Okay.
And so most of the people that I know that have been in it for a long time and are the most successful at it are people that went through the Carson Dunlap program and still use Carson Dunlap's reporting system to do it, and have done most of their career. Like myself, I've done it as well. So it's a good system. It's a proven system, and it's easy to follow from a reporting point of view.
Okay. So do you find then that, because you said it's not back to normal yet, have you found then maybe that the demand isn't there for buyers, or is it something, where's the lag coming from?
No, I think the lag is that right now sales are down.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because interest rates are up, so there's not as many sales.
Yeah.
As I say, I've seen it come up. It's definitely up from where it was, and I've noticed it, say, in the last month, but it's nowhere near where it once was. And I think a lot of that has to do with, interest rates are up, sales are down. I also believe that we're in a true summer.
Yeah, no,
for real estate,
absolutely.
because people are because of the pandemic being over and people get a chance to get out, so they're going on vacation. They're saying, "Oh, screw it, let's just go and we'll buy a house." We'll look at it next month. But right now, I think people are away. So I'm curious to see what September is going to look like in terms of old time, because September used to be the second season.
That's right.
So September, October was always a bit of a bump.
Yeah, no, and I'm like you. Next week, they're contemplating, Bank of Canada, one more rate increase before the end of the year, and so that we're going to do a podcast on that in terms of projections for the fall and what the market could look like. It doesn't help when TD, spouts out a news blurb about house prices dropping by 25%. That know, and I hate when they get these stupid media sound bites totally out of context, like from anything. So 25% down from wherever. But anyway, and
it's 25% in different markets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. I don't think, have we seen that much of a drop here? I don't think we have.
No, we haven't. And again, what people don't understand is January, the beginning part of the year is over, and like you said, where people enjoyed the summer. Is there activity still happening? Of course, there's activity still happening.
Yes,
and it's property and location dependent. Where again, I see places that are still selling with competing offers and no conditions and over the asking price. And in higher price ranges and in low price ranges. So there's no predictability to it as much anymore in terms of, and it's not happening across the board, of course, but okay.
And that's why I think that we're probably a good another 6 months, probably next spring, we'll get back to hopefully what I would consider a traditional market. But a lot of it's also going to depend on what they really do with interest rates.
Yeah, for sure.
How much of that's going to kill it and slow things down and put us in a recession.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and certainly I know I've used you in the past, and I know I recommend you as well, because I still think inspections are important. Especially, I always used to say to my clients, especially if you've never owned a home before, I always say to them, listen, this is the best crash course you're going to get in owning a home, because some people don't even know how to change a furnace filter or change a light bulb.
Don't even know there is. Don't even know what the furnace filter. Yeah, I know.
So, any last comments?
No, and I was going to say the reason I enjoy what I do is because I always feel like I'm teaching people because of what you just said. And I've been with people that are on their third and fourth home and still have no idea, as I say, how their house works. They just don't get it. And I think, wow, it's the most expensive thing you're going to buy in your whole life, and you don't pay any attention to anything. So it's still something I enjoy doing. It's been a great 14 years doing this, and it's a great market here in Kingston. So thanks very much for having me.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being on. Yeah,
thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.